The sound of the slap echoed through the cabin. Passengers froze as the flight attendant shouted, "Don't ever talk to me like that again!" Her hand still hung in the air while the woman she'd just struck, calm, composed, and silent, slowly turned her head. Cameras were already rolling. The silence that followed was heavier than any turbulence. But what no one knew was that the woman she humiliated wasn't just another passenger. She was the CEO and owner of the entire airline. And within minutes, the flight attendant who thought she held power would lose everything she ever had. The flight from Chicago to London had just begun boarding when the tension started simmering. Business-class passengers filed in, murmuring softly as attendants checked tickets. At seat 2A, a calm, poised woman placed her tablet and a slim briefcase beneath the seat. Her name was Alyssa Carter, unknown to the passengers but not to the company. She was the newly appointed CEO of Meridian Air, traveling anonymously to evaluate her airline's service from the inside. When Rebecca Cole, the senior flight attendant, approached, she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "You're in the wrong seat. This section is reserved for first-class passengers." Alyssa smiled politely. "Yes, that's correct." "Here's my boarding pass." Rebecca barely looked at it. "You must have been upgraded by mistake. I'll find your proper seat in business." "I assure you," Alyssa replied evenly, "this is the seat assigned to me." Rebecca's tone hardened. "Don't argue with me." A man nearby cleared his throat. "She showed you the ticket." Rebecca ignored him. "Ma'am, step into the aisle, please." Alyssa exhaled slowly, her voice calm but firm. "You're making a mistake." "I'm following procedure," Rebecca snapped, snatching the ticket from Alyssa's hand. She glanced at it again, seat 2A, first class, but pride overruled reason. "You'll need to wait by the galley while I sort this out." Alyssa didn't move. "I'll remain seated until your supervisor confirms." That quiet defiance ignited Rebecca's rage. "You're being insubordinate," she barked. Passengers shifted uncomfortably. A young mother whispered, "She didn't do anything wrong." But the attendant's voice only grew louder. "You think you can talk back to me?" Rebecca hissed. "Not on my flight," Alyssa straightened. "This isn't about a seat anymore, is it?" Rebecca's hand twitched. "Don't test me." Then it happened. A sharp crack split the air. The slap. Passengers gasped. A baby cried. The cabin froze. Rebecca's palm trembled in midair, eyes wide with the realization of what she'd just done. Alyssa didn't flinch. Slowly, she turned her face back toward the woman who had struck her. "You just assaulted a passenger," she said quietly. Rebecca's arrogance cracked into fear. "You provoked me." "You were disrespectful." "No," Alyssa replied, her voice low but commanding. "I was patient." Someone shouted, "I got that on video." Others pulled out their phones. The murmurs rose into a storm of whispers and disbelief. Then, a calm male voice echoed through the intercom. "This is your captain speaking. Could the senior flight attendant report to the cockpit immediately?" Rebecca turned pale. "Now?" Alyssa nodded toward the front. "You should go." When Rebecca entered the cockpit, two company officials stood waiting, an operations manager and a communications director. One handed her a phone. "Rebecca Cole?" "Yes," she stammered. "This call is from corporate headquarters," the manager said. A firm voice spoke from the other end. "Rebecca, this is executive control. The passenger you assaulted is Alyssa Carter, your chief executive officer. Step out of the cockpit and surrender your badge." Her mouth went dry. "That's impossible. The CEO, she's in Europe this week." "She was." "Until your shift." Rebecca stumbled backward, eyes wide. "I didn't know." "That's the problem," the voice interrupted coldly. "You didn't need to know. You just needed to act with respect." When she re-entered the cabin, every passenger was watching. Alyssa stood at the front now, calm and poised. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alyssa said into the microphone, "I regret to inform you that this flight will be delayed for operational reasons." Rebecca whispered, "Please." "Give me a chance to explain." Alyssa turned toward her. "You had your chance when I was asking to be treated like any other passenger. Instead, you chose humiliation over humility." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Ms. Carter." Alyssa's expression didn't waver. It's Captain Carter, actually. Before I became CEO, I flew this very route for 10 years. A collective gasp swept through the cabin. Security will escort you off this aircraft, Alyssa continued. You're relieved of duty, effective immediately. The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was deliberate, rhythmic, unified. Rebecca removed her badge, trembling, and handed it over. As she was led away, Alyssa took a deep breath and addressed the passengers again. I founded Meridian Air on the promise that every traveler would feel safe and respected. What happened today broke that promise. It won't happen again, phones recorded. Her calm authority radiated across the cabin. By the time the plane landed in London hours later, the video had already reached the world. The slap that changed, the skies trended globally. Millions watched as Alyssa's composure contrasted sharply with the attendant's cruelty. The next morning, headlines dominated every network. Flight attendant slaps CEO mid-flight, entire industry shaken. Rebecca was terminated, later facing charges for assault and civil rights violations. But the story didn't end there. Alyssa's company implemented a sweeping reform called the Meridian Code, enforcing mandatory empathy training and real-time passenger monitoring to prevent discrimination. During a press conference, Alyssa stood at the podium. This wasn't about power, she said. It was about principle. I didn't fire an employee today. I ended a pattern. Then came the second twist. Reporters uncovered that Rebecca's teenage son had been attending school on a Meridian scholarship, funded personally by Alyssa. When asked about it, Alyssa only said, "We can forgive people, but consequences remain." Because the real lesson isn't in losing a job, it's in understanding what respect costs when it's gone. Months later, at an awards gala for women in aviation, Alyssa spoke again. People often ask me why I didn't strike back, she said. Because silence, when it holds truth, is the loudest answer there is. The audience rose in applause. As she left the stage, a journalist called out, "Miss Carter, do you ever think about that flight?" She paused at the door. "Every day," she said. Because sometimes justice doesn't take off, it lands. And with that, she walked away, her calm echoing louder than the slap that started it all.